Ridley Scott's latest film, Napoleon, seems to be making waves, and not necessarily in a good way, especially in France. The film has sparked controversy for its portrayal of the French emperor, with historians pointing out factual errors and what some are calling a hostile bias against Napoleon. Critics are saying it's a very anti-French film, and there are claims of historical inaccuracies, from Napoleon supposedly attending the beheading of Marie Antoinette, which didn't happen, to the film's portrayal of the emperor as a caricature of an ambitious, Corsican ogre. Now, this has raised eyebrows in France, a country that holds Napoleon in high regard, with his tomb resting in the center of the capital. Now, let's break this down. Is it fair for Ridley Scott, a Brit, to tell the story of the French Caesar? And does it matter that the characters, including Napoleon, speak English in a film set in France? Some of the criticisms from historians include the film hiding the political landscape, disappointment in the setting, and the battle scenes being hard to follow. But perhaps the most significant concern is the image of Napoleon that Ridley Scott is conveying. Is it a logical absurdity to portray Napoleon as dumb, mediocre, and ridiculous? One historian suggests that Scott takes up the old caricature of Napoleon from the time after his fall, perpetuating a negative view of the French leader. The film's ending, which tallies the number of dead soldiers, has been labeled as a desire to be hostile towards Napoleon.
He was a dictator, make no mistake about that.
Now, we're curious to know what you think. Have you seen Napoleon, and if so, do you agree with these criticisms? Is it fair for a filmmaker to take creative liberties with historical figures, or does it cross a line when it distorts the facts? But before you make up your mind, let's delve into the intriguing behind-the-scenes details of how Napoleon came together. First up, the film depicts 6 of Napoleon's most famous battles, showcasing his prowess as a revolutionary army commander. The intense and dramatic Battle of Austerlitz is featured, and there are 5 more battles to discover when you watch the film. Now, Ridley Scott, known for his hands-on approach to filmmaking, took it a step further for Napoleon. He personally drew all the storyboards for the battle scenes by hand, ensuring his vision was accurately translated to the screen. And here's a jaw-dropping figure: the film had a whopping $200 million budget, making it one of Ridley Scott's most expensive projects, just behind 2010's Robin Hood. But the real game-changer? Joaquin Phoenix. Once cast as Napoleon, Ridley Scott decided to rewrite the entire film to align with Phoenix's acting style. It seems being one of the best actors on the planet has its perks. Now, let's talk about the realism. While the film accurately depicts historical weapons, including giant cannons used in Napoleon's battles, no live cannonballs were used during the filming. Blanks were fired, and the rest was added in post-production. And speaking of authenticity, for the famous Battle of Austerlitz, Ridley Scott recruited over 100 real live horses to capture the essence of the events that unfolded in 1805. Now, here's a directorial secret: Ridley Scott's knack for fast shoots. The Battle of Austerlitz scene, slated for 6 days, was completed in just 3.5. How? Multiple cameras, up to 11 for one scene. This not only reduced retakes but also accelerated the production pace. So, armed with this behind-the-scenes knowledge, the big question remains: now that you know more about the story behind Ridley Scott's Napoleon, will you be watching this big-budget epic?